At Dakota Transit, as well as your textile documents business, how did you find common ground among people who had different aesthetic taste than your own?
Common ground is not perhaps the best way to frame it. I liked making people look good. When I was designing clothes for them, the idea was to put out something fresh, but something enhancing. So working with that end in mind, it's not really about anybody's ego. It's about, this is the body, this is the type of movement that I may be doing when I'm wearing these clothes. This is the size of the audience or the distance it'll be viewed from. And these are the parameters, and what can you do within this?
I guess as a follow-up, when you have very different tastes from your client or the brand you're trying to work from, how did you try and figure out what areas you had in common or how viewed? Because I imagine that was a little bit of a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, that sort of situation came into play more when I was selling design ideas than when I was actually designing for a person. So that the clients I worked with when I was selling textile designs were a very varied lot, and it was much later in my career. And by then I had learned and continued to practice to look at things through different people's eyes. That's a big job. And it's quite different than a creative job where you're fomenting an idea yourself. What you're doing in the second case in my later business was acting as an adjunct to realizing a vision of your client. So as you look through someone's eyes, you see things differently. If you're looking through the eyes of a menswear designer who's looking for tiny pattern and great subtlety, you use those parameters. If you're looking for somebody who's recreating a 70s bohemian look, you're a little more obvious. And the more people's eyes you can look through, the better you are at your job.
Was that difficult at first, having been a designer and then working with designers or facilitating, or did it come naturally?
I think it came naturally because between the time when I was designing clothes directly for clients and the time when I started selling designs as inspiration were 15 years of looking through different eyes in Peru and Asia, in Europe. So I'd been exposed and probably gotten lots more analytic. At my early years when I was designing snakeskin clothes and making things just out of my clear blue sky, yes, my references were more limited.